About 2,600 of the most powerful people in American media spent the last 3 years on television and in their newspapers telling their audiences that Donald Trump is an existential threat to democracy, a fascist, a dictator, the second coming of Hitler. Last night they sat in the same ballroom with him in tuxedos and gowns, and when a man with a shotgun and a handgun started firing in the hallway outside, every single one of them dove under the burrata salad. Tonight we are going to look at the room, the words that filled it, and the country that produced both. So the dinner was the White House Correspondents Association annual gala at the Washington Hilton. About 2,600 people in the main ballroom. The press tier filled the front rows. Wolf Blitzer from CNN, Jake Tapper from CNN, Caitlin Collins, Boris Sanchez, Brianna Kayla from CNN as well, Nora O'Donnell and Barry Weiss from CBS, Lester Holt and Kristen Welker from NBC, Lindsay Davis from ABC, Brett Baier from Fox, Audie Cornish, Paula Wright, Casey Hunt. The senior cabinet sat at the head table as well. The president, first lady, the vice president, Hexeth Rubio, RFK Jr., Caroline Leavitt, who is very pregnant. So this was the first time Donald Trump attended this dinner as a sitting president. He skipped it the entire first term. The association had to pick a host this year, and instead of a comedian, they booked a mentalist. The reason they gave a journalist on the way in on the record was that they wanted to avoid the kind of MAGA backlash that a comedian roasting Trump might cause. So that is the room you need to picture. 2,500 people who, by every survey ever taken of American journalism, voted overwhelmingly for the other side, sitting in tuxedos and listening to a magic show, having decided in advance that they were going to be polite tonight. But the words that filled that room before anyone sat down tell a very different story. 2 days before the dinner, on April 23rd, CNN published an article asking the question, and I quote the headline directly because I want you to read it twice in your head. How would an assassination attempt be staged? That is the actual headline. 2 days before a real assassination attempt happened in a real ballroom with a real shotgun, the largest cable news network in America was running an explainer on how a fake one might be detected. Right alongside it, a letter signed by more than 250 journalists, including the Society of Professional Journalists, the National Association of Black Journalists, Dan Rather, Sam Donaldson, and Ann Curry, was circulating among the dinner attendees. The letter called on them to, and I'm reading the exact words, forcefully demonstrate opposition to President Trump's efforts to trample freedom of the press. It told the association not to normalize his behavior, but to fight back against any office holder who has waged systemic war against journalists. Forcefully demonstrate, fight back, systemic war. Those are the polite words. These are the words 250 journalists wrote down on paper, signed their names to, and circulated to the room before the president walked in. So the mainstream media this morning is running a single line. Lone wolf, sick person, mental illness, no motive established. They want this story to disappear into the same memory hole that Butler and West Palm Beach went into, and they want to disappear by Tuesday. A tactic is called burying. They are not lying about the suspect being mentally unwell. They are using mental illness as a way to skip the question of who poured gasoline on the kindling for 10 years and lit the match. Now, to the part most people are not connecting. We learned tonight, late, from federal law enforcement that sources to Fox News that Cole Allen, the man arrested last night, told investigators after his arrest that his intent was to target Trump administration officials at the dinner. That is the suspect, in his own words, on the record after Miranda. The no motive established line that the major networks ran all morning is no longer operative. The suspect told investigators his motive himself. So Cole Allen is 31 years old. He has a Caltech engineering degree. He has a master's in computer science. He was named Teacher of the Month at his tutoring company in December 2024. He developed an emergency brake for wheelchairs as a student to help senior citizens. He donated $25 to Kamala Harris in 2024. The full behavioral profile of this man I will get into in another video this week on my Body Language Guide channel. But the point for tonight is not who he is. The point is that he traveled across the country, walked into a hotel ballroom in Washington, D.C., carrying a shotgun and a handgun and several knives, and told the FBI afterward that he was there to kill members of the administration. That is not a man who got radicalized in a vacuum. Look at who was online last night while the room was being evacuated. Mary Trump, the president's own niece, posted that she called what she called a joke at 7:14 p.m. Eastern, mocking the moment in Butler when her uncle stood up after being shot and raised his fist. 1.6 million views. Don Winslow, a best-selling crime novelist, told his audience he didn't believe the story. Sarah Ironside said the president's approval ratings were so bad that he staged the assassination attempt to get out of the dinner. Rick Wilson, who built his career as a Republican consultant before becoming a professional Trump hater on cable, posted, "Total coincidence, right?" A brewery in Wisconsin called Minocqua Brewing Company, a real business with real customers and a Facebook page, posted publicly, "Either a brother or sister in the resistance needs to work on their marksmanship, or he faked another assassination to get a positive news cycle. We'll never know. Regardless, we stand at the ready to pour free beer the day it happens." 3,600 reactions on the post, 1.2 million views on the screenshot. A brewery, a licensed business, publicly hoping the next attempt has better aim. So this is not anonymous blue sky trolls. This is a verified blue check niece of the president, a published author, a former GOP strategist, and a real brewery in Wisconsin with employees and a tax ID. They all said the quiet part out loud last night on the record in front of millions of viewers, while the man they were laughing at was still in his tuxedo giving orders to evacuate the women in the room first. There's one more detail that I cannot leave out, even though it is the hardest one to talk about. Erica Kirk was at that dinner last night, the widow of Charlie Kirk. Her husband was assassinated for his politics. She walked into a ballroom intending to honor the country she lives in, and she ended up under a table while a man with a shotgun tried to kill another political figure 30 yards away. There's a video of her crying afterward, telling someone she just wants to go home. A Facebook page called U.S. Democratic Socialists posted that video. Their caption read, "You're welcome to go home, Erica, and stay there. Why were you even there?" So, we're talking about a widow of a man assassinated for his politics, crying after surviving a second assassination attempt. And the response from the political left was to mock her for crying. So that is the climate. That is what the journalist's letter and the CNN explainer and the Mary Trump joke and the brewery in Wisconsin and the Democratic Socialists' Facebook page all add up to. None of them pulled the trigger last night. All of them poured the gasoline. So the convergence. The suspect told the FBI he came to kill cabinet officials. The room he attacked was filled with the same media outlets that have spent decades telling their audiences that the people in that room are an existential threat. The reaction online was glee, mockery, and conspiracy theories. And the question that no one in the mainstream media wants to ask out loud tonight is the simplest one in the world. If you spent 10 years telling half the country that the other half is Hitler, do not act surprised when one of them shows up to a black tie dinner with a shotgun. So the next thing to watch is the Monday arraignment. The acting U.S. attorney filed 2 charges last night, using a firearm during a crime of violence and assault on a federal officer. There's a separate federal statute, 18 U.S.C. 1751, that specifically covers attempts to assassinate the president. It is not on the indictment yet. It probably should be by Monday afternoon, and if it is not, that is going to be its own question worth asking. I will be watching closely, and so should you. So if you want my deeper analysis on geopolitics and markets, go check my new blog, The Power Pundit. I can say things there that I'm not allowed to say anywhere else. Link in the description. And share this video with your family and friends so they know what's really going on. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm The Power Pundit. Much love and bliss.